There you go.
Hello, Jim Talkers. So my speech today is about another book I've been reading. So the book is titled Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Morse. It's just a little book here, about 300 pages. So who is Maxwell Morse? He was a plastic surgeon back in the 60s. And he is actually known for the person who coined the term self-image. So I will talk about self-image a little bit later on in my speech, but I would like to talk about his practice. So he's a plastic surgeon. A plastic surgeon is someone who will come into his office with his scars after an accident, and he will do his best to remove the scars. And so there's a story of a young lady who unfortunately happened to be in an accident, and she had a big scar on her face. So she went to see Dr. Morse to have the scar removed. And he did that, and at the end of the surgery, he handed her a mirror and asked her, how does it look? She looked herself into the mirror and said, Doctor, I don't see any difference. Dr. Morse, he was stunned, he couldn't believe it, so he went back to his office. He got a picture of herself before the surgery and after the surgery, and he gave her those two pictures and tell her, don't you see the difference? She looked at the pictures and said, yes, Dr. Morse, I see the difference, but I don't feel any difference. So this turned on a light bulb in Dr. Morse's head, and then he figured that there's two types of surgery that need to happen. Of course, the physical one, but there's also needed to be, he called it an emotional surgery, a surgery that will remove emotional scars. And he went on to dig into that young lady's life, and he ascertained that she was actually promised to a young man who unfortunately decided to run off and marry somebody else. So that experience left that young lady with feeling unloved and rejected. Dr. Morse fortunately moved on and told her that you did not run off, you did. You have nothing to blame yourself for. Unfortunately, she got the message and she moved on and married somebody else. And so what is a self-image? So Dr. Morse, the self-image is pretty much your opinion of yourself, how you think of yourself. And he also calls it the stranger within, something that tells you who you really are. And it's kind of like a thermostat, the thermostat in a room controls the temperature in a room. So it doesn't matter if you have a goal to be happy or to become a successful entrepreneur or to be rich, but if your self-image is not congruent, it doesn't match how you really feel inside, it will probably never going to happen. And so why is that? Why our self-image is so important and so powerful? So I've been reading also lots of books, and I found out the word self-image and our emotion, our lingering feelings are one and the same. And emotion can be likened to a torrent, like a strong current of water down the side of a cliff, right? If you're unlucky to get trapped into a strong current, you are pretty much gone, unless you find a rock or a branch to hold yourself. So, when you have strong emotions, it's kind of hard to get ourselves out of it. And so that's kind of how emotion works. We have stories of parents who doesn't hesitate to march into a building on fire to save a child because of a strong emotion the parents have with that child. Or when you're in a fit of anger, we usually do things that we wouldn't normally do because of the strong emotion. So, but the good news is that, and actually why our emotions and self-image can be likened is because when you get emotional, you're not reacting to what's actually happening, but you're actually reacting to the image we have in our head. So, for example, when people are scared of snake, at least me, when I'm scared of snake, I'm actually scared of I have the image of the snake, with big fangs, biting my ankle and then sending his venom, and then I'm dying in a couple of weeks. But that's the picture in my head, so that's why I'm scared of snakes. And so you're reacting to the picture, not actually what's actually happening. And so the good news is that our emotion, our imagination, our strong feelings, they can actually be guided. Like you can guide a strong torrent of water with a dam to make electricity. So we can do the same thing with our imagination as well. And so Dr. Morse went on to say that our emotions and our self-image controls our personality, and our personality also controls our destiny. And he talked about two different types of personality. He talked about the success type personality and the failure type personality. The success type personality, so success is an acronym for S, a sense of direction, and U is understanding, C is courage, and the second C is charity or compassion, and E is for empathy, and S is self-confidence, and the second S is self-acceptance. So, for example, when he's in the lab and he's doing a surgery, he needs to have a sense of direction. Right? He needs to have a goal for today, and also he needs to understand, what he needs to be doing today, and then he also, needs to be courageous, right? He doesn't. This is not the time for fear, to be fearful, and also, right? He needs to have a good sense of self-esteem, right? And also he needs to be self-confident. Right? He has done this thing before, so he knows that he can do it again. And he also needs to feel self-acceptance, even if the surgery doesn't go as good as he had hoped he had. He can have that self-acceptance to accept the result and move on to the next thing. And so he also talked about the failure mechanism, which is also the failure is an acronym for F, frustration. Frustration is that feeling of being powerless. And then A is anger. And then I is feeling, I forgot about the I, sorry. L is loneliness, and U is uncertainty, and R is feeling resentment, and E is emptiness. So you have all those emotions that you sometimes go through, but the good news again is that we can choose to wear those emotions. Like this morning, we chose to pick up a clothes to wear. We can actually choose to wear those emotions, but you say how? Again, one by choices, but again, like using your imagination, like it's all about how we choose to dwell on, what we choose to think about, and the inner stories we choose to tell ourselves. And so this is pretty much the review of my book, and there's a whole lot of chapters, a lot of lessons to learn from the book, and I would highly recommend everybody to dig in and read as well. Thank you very much.